Always live. How about that?
We're not that far off.
We're trending in that direction.
Definitely trending in that direction. What is up, everybody, and welcome into the DNVR Lounge, the Mailbag Lounge.
Let's go.
Is that a thing? Is that the mailbag? Is that
We haven't done one of these.
it has been a minute.
Does it get an air horn? A mailbag? We missed our window.
Yeah, we missed the window for it. As always, guys, we're presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app. Download the app right now. We're not giving you any free nothing today, but
you have to
very
make your
soon.
own money.
Yeah, you have to make your own money. But Friday we will be back to giving you guys a bunch of winners as we preview everything. I'm joined by my esteemed colleagues over here, Mr. Wynn.
I was wondering if you're going to say something about my sweatshirt.
I was about to. You saw it.
I was waiting for it. I was trying to bait something out of you.
Okay.
But no, it didn't work.
A pink sweatshirt, huh? So whose choice was that? Yours?
It's Wednesday. Wednesdays we wear pink around here.
I didn't know that was a thing.
You didn't? Well, get in line.
Well, over here, also not wearing pink, so I think you're the minority.
Yeah, I missed that memo. Wynn looks good, though.
He does
a good
look
color
good.
on him. Yeah.
How about you, Vogt?
Oh, I'm good, too. I'm well. Happy to be here.
Are you happy to be here?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm excited to be here as well, guys. We got a ton of questions today. We put out the mailbag thing. We probably got like 50 questions. I doubt we get to all of them, although good thing. There's a lot of crossover. A lot of people want to talk trades. It is that season. We're, 2 weeks away from the trade deadline?
Yeah.
Trade talk really starts to ramp up.
My favorite and least favorite time of the year.
I like trade talk contained within the space of trade season. I don't like it when we get to like November. Hey, what do you guys think about that?
Right.
Guys, I have no idea, man. Like it's so far away. But we're going to get into all that. But before we get into anything, we have a big announcement. We had already seen the leaked images of Denver's earned jerseys. Now, if you remember, teams that make the playoffs, they didn't do this last year, but they're bringing it back this year. If you make the playoffs, you get a fifth jersey, an earned jersey. The Nuggets get it. Let's bring that up, Kale. Bring it up on the screen here so we can get a good look at it. I liked what we saw of this when it leaked online earlier, maybe a month ago. But, man, I really like it on Jamal Murray.
I think this thing's going to pop on the court. And the images are pretty good, but I can't wait to see these guys out there in the bright lights. I think it's really going to catch the few colors in this jersey nicely, and I think it's going to look good. We know it looks good on Jamal. I think it can look good on Jokic. And to me, those are the most important things in any Nuggets.
Yeah, it's a white jersey. White jerseys can look good on white guys. That's the big issue.
They can't or can?
They can. Yes.
Oh, they can.
Yes,
okay.
They can. So
I have a take.
All right, Kale.
Okay.
Kale has a take here.
And
oh
a
my
microphone.
God.
And a microphone today. I have a take that this is going to be the Jamal Murray jersey.
see, I thought the black skyline was the Jamal Murray jersey.
I thought so too. I've always said that the blue is the Jokic.
Correct.
I think the black is the Murray.
Correct.
And the red is nobody. It's literally nobody's jersey.
Well, the red is supposed to be MPJ's jersey, but the red is such a iffy jersey that I just don't know.
But so here's the thing, Kale. Oh yeah, Eric is joining it. He didn't come into studio today.
Good to hear from
you.
you,
Too
Eric.
big for his britches. No, I'm just kidding. He had other things. But yeah, it's the black skyline is the Murray one, of course. Because here's the thing, Kale, about your take. The black skyline moments happened in the bubble on the biggest stage, and they are the most memorable moments of Jamal Murray's career. So to say that he would do that means he would have to have. I don't even know if they're wearing these in the playoffs this year.
They're wearing them Friday, I think.
Oh, already?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Breaking news over here from Wind.
Well, I don't think you can look up when each team is wearing each jersey.
Not really a wind chime, more like a
Well,
Google
either way,
chime.
I'm excited about that. But I just. For him to top what he did last year in the bubble, and also anytime something is the first, like that was his first big, sort of breakout. There's no way. So, Kale, turn your mic back off.
Yeah, your first take, you're wrong.
0 for 1.
0 for 1.
Here's what I love about these jerseys. I just love the colors. First of all, I like if I'm going to put on my Eric Weedham hat, my designer hat.
Yeah.
I love the progression from. Kale, can you put the image back up again so I know what I'm talking about here? I love the progression from blue to red to gold as you go down the jersey, at least the top part. And the shorts are really cool. Also, I mean, this could be like an alternate Team Serbia jersey, which I'm not mad about either. I love the alignment there.
It's fun. I'm sure Eric is listening to your take about the red to blue vertical.
I'm sure
he's like, that's not a thing. Yeah, he's just like all of our comments. He's just. I like that it's that brings a universality without being drowned in subjectivity. That's what I like about it.
Wow.
Yeah, I agree with every word you just said, for sure.
Anyway, I love these. If they play them on Friday, man, that makes me, like more hype now for Friday. It's too bad it'll be on the road. But I like these jerseys. I'm a big fan of going to the pickaxe. Some people have commented red, white, and blue, how original. Like that's every team's
America.
color. I don't care though. I still like it. Also, it's a throwback. People don't realize to the original Nuggets look.
Did you see John Hollinger tweet that teams that don't get earned jerseys should be forced to wear the worst jerseys in their team's history?
I love it.
It's a great
It's
idea. A rare, great idea from Hollinger.
Really good idea there. Wow, throwing some barbs here. Let's, Kale, pull up.
Right.
So let's just quickly gloss over all the other teams' earned jerseys here and see what we think. Lakers, ugly. Eric has really taught me this lesson here. Can I see it, Kale? Oh, there it is. Lakers, when they their jerseys are so classic and iconic that anytime they do anything different, it looks dumb. I think that looks dumb. Clippers.
Nothing about the Clippers is classic and iconic.
It fits the Clippers so well, though.
They mailed that in so hard. Come on.
The Clippers are like bland, and they just are like, what if we took all color out of the jersey and made it bland?
It's like the NBA or the Clippers handed Nike a stencil, and just Nike didn't do anything with it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just the original stencil.
They forgot. They just sent the draft back in. Yeah.
The
They were
Jazz
supposed to fill it in with color, but they never did.
I actually really like the Utah one. Utah's a confusing case. Utah's confusing because they have like 20 different color palettes, but I like this green one. I think it's cool.
That looks a little Celtics green to me.
It does.
That said, screw the Celtics. That's fine.
Green and yellow is a cool color scheme, though, that we don't have enough of. I mean, what is in the NBA that's green and yellow? We have the Bucks that are kind of like, but that's a different thing.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of with it. Blazers, same as the Clippers. They just took the color out. Like, that's kind of lame. I don't like it.
They forgot.
Let's see what else they forgot. 76ers. I like the cream color. Like I think I'm a big fan of that. The Nets, whatever. It works for me.
Yeah.
Isn't that
It's the Subway
Subway,
thing.
yeah. It's a little Subway thing, so I dig it.
The 20th version of a Nets jersey that has to do with the Subway.
That's so
Actually,
true.
It's the 20th one.
They're gonna run it back next year.
The Bucks jersey looks like Guy Fieri. It's like that's like a jersey made specifically for him.
Looks like his jeans he might wear. Or something.
Except it's the antlers or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the Celtics, same as the Lakers. You can't really. I mean, they're too.
Haven't the Celtics had this jersey?
No,
I think the Celtics are going in the wrong direction, man. They keep trying to get too creative and do something different, and just stick to what's working.
You can't do it. All right, what else, Cal? Let's see here. Miami Heat yellow. What the heck? I don't know if I'm feeling that. I like the Raptors one, although it looks kind of weird in this image where there's a black background because it looks like the black is not there.
They've run that design back a bunch, though, huh? They're just like sticking different colors in it.
The V.
But I think of the
It's a good
Raptors as
look.
purple. The Raptors as red to me is weird. It's still weird, but whatever.
Right. The purple and black Raptors, that's classic.
I never like anything the Pacers do, but people seem to like the pinstripe classic.
It's
I just
because
don't
it's just
like
a
it.
traditional look that's like not too much, not too little.
No other team could get away with that, but something about Indiana, it's just perfect the way they have that
real
branding.
Midwest vibe.
Yeah.
Orlando also, I think, has a hard time. The pinstripes for them worked way back in the day, but nowadays
Orlando, I feel bad for the Magic. They just need a total rebrand at this point.
they need to not go by the Magic anymore. Like,
Yeah, that's part of it.
branding yourself.
They
as
need
Disney
to
World is
rebrand
lame.
literally every part of their organization. The nickname, the players, the coach, the roster. Everything.
Those
Maybe
are-
move to Seattle, call themselves the Sonics. I don't know.
Those are batting practice jerseys for the Magic right there.
Mavs jerseys, like whatever. Okay,
We've
don't
seen
really
that
have
before, yeah.
Thunder, better than their tire
Thunder.
shop ones.
Mavs 2.0.
Yeah, it is. Look at
Yeah,
those two
oh my
jerseys.
God, you're
my
right.
God,
How did I not
talk
notice
about
that right
copy
away?
and paste.
Wow,
Holy crap!
that's
The
incredible.
senior design guy from the Thunder actually just took a job with the Mavs.
No, if you don't see, there's a little bit of like TV static going through the Thunder font, so it's very different.
Oh wow. Well, there you go. And then the Houston Rockets. Whatever. It's not bad.
Basic.
It's not bad. Pretty basic. All right. So you guys, we're going to let you know right off the top. We're going to start getting into all these questions. If you do have a question for the chat and you didn't get it out on Twitter, you can super chat. We'll get to any super chats at the end. We'll kind of save those. But for the future, if you're listening to this as a podcast or if you're watching it on YouTube Live, follow us on social media, on Twitter at DNVR_Nuggets. That way you can always interact with us whenever we do things like this. Without further ado, let's get into it. Harrison has broke these questions down into categories, and we're going to start with random.
Thanks for doing that, by the way.
Yeah. Random. And this is the title question and maybe my favorite question in this entire one. Shouts to Grant Carey for the great question. How many players in the NBA right now have the chance, however small, to be the greatest player of all time, and who are they? I love this one. Start us off, Vogt.
I think there are only two. One is LeBron. a handful of you are going to respond one way or another to that. He's more deeply entrenched in that conversation than any other player in history. The other's Luka, and I know some people are going to roll their eyes at that. It is a bit like...
Why would people roll their eyes at Luka?
There is a little bit... We were very, very, very quick as a community collectively to crown Luka. That said, that's because he's a king, and I think he will end up earning that. The immediate production at his age actually is GOAT level stuff. Like, rookies and sophomores just don't produce to the level he did. So he's the only other guy I would say, all right, that ceiling is there. If you see the very best of Luka Doncic, does he enter this conversation? I think that's on the table. Of course, a big stretch.
I wonder if Zion is on the table. The question with Zion is he going to be on good enough teams?
That's the question. See, here's the thing. That's the question for all these dudes. I mean, this is one of the things, the older you get, the more you watch a sport, the more you realize, like Kevin Garnett to me is the ultimate. His career got cut in half because the first half of it he was on such crappy teams that he paid attention to. All that stuff is so dependent on it.
But what Zion is doing at 19 years old is crazy. I mean, the numbers he's putting up, the efficiency he's scoring at, just how much of a force he is at that age. Yeah, I mean, if he keeps doing this for 17, 18 years and is on enough championship caliber teams, yeah, I mean, he could get in that conversation. The actual answer to this is probably just LeBron.
See, I think you guys are being a little too conservative here, and part of this is because so much of the GOAT conversation is myth making. Yeah, like the Jordan thing, like nobody will ever be as good as Jordan because it was perfect and he won 6 in a row and then retired and there's the narrative built around this, and I think you hit on a good point, Vogt, about. With Luka, like we're already at the teardown phase. Things happen so quickly for him that we did the build up. Now we're at the teardown. But the longer you go through this, like Luka might have 20 more years in the NBA. I mean, we're seeing with LeBron, we're in the year 2021. LeBron is now at 36 years old, 30. Yeah, he's 36. And it looks like he might have 3 or 4 more years, if not more. What do you think medicine and training and health is like in the year 2035, which is when Luka would be LeBron's age? Like, think about that's like the gap. It's insane to think about. That's so far in the future that we don't know what the world will be like. So maybe Luka has 20 more years and an opportunity to rally off, a 4-peat or something like that. So I agree. Luka to me has that chance. Again, all of these are small, really small. Zion, I agree. He could have a Shaq-like run where. Maybe he has 4 or 5 years where just nobody can guard. He has the perfect team around him and nobody can guard him. He draws 11, 12 fouls a game and shoots 90% because they're all dunks. So I think he's definitely in there. If we expand it out a little bit, I think Kevin Durant has a even tinier chance, in large part because his career is so far. But again, we keep talking about he's 31. Maybe that means he only has 10 more years left. If he has 10 years left, then it's like, oh, yeah, he has so much time to get better and to – it would require for KD, I think, playing the best basketball of his career is still ahead of him, which I don't know if that's likely, but it might be.
And KD's also got 2 championships.
Right.
And that's honestly, like, if this argument boils down to one thing, it's who's going to get the 5 or 6 championships. KD's got 2. He might get another one this year. I think the Nets should be championship favorites right now. He might get another one this year. That team's probably going to be pretty good for years to come, or whatever team he winds up on is going to be a contender for years to come.
And Vogt, LeBron, we thought he peaked in 2013. It's like, it's all downhill. And then he just kept getting better in different ways. Like, okay, it evolved. He wasn't as athletic, but and I wonder if KD, if it's the same thing, maybe he becomes an even better 3-point shooter. Doesn't get to the rim as much, but doesn't matter, playmaker.
I mean, that's all on the table. You just brought up the best point at the beginning, which is this is all about myth building, and whoever's building that myth has their work cut out for them, because those of us who were there for what appears to be the prime of KD's career, at least to this point, he was the second best player in the league for his career. Like that, overcoming that narrative, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. That he didn't even really surpass LeBron while they were playing together. Like it's going to be a lot to get to that point. I think he would have to win at least 3 more championships, 1 more MVP, and ultimately, be the leading scorer of all time, probably in NBA history, which LeBron himself might do. So
if we go the 3 big men that are on this list, we're going to finish with Jokic here. A year ago I said that I thought Michael Porter had the chance to be this. Not that I thought he was going to be, but just like his skill set lends itself to. I think already you look at it and go, he has a long way to go with his handle. He has a long way to go. Like he's already 22. I'm not saying it's impossible for him. It's just he's not on my list because the odds are probably too small. But he's still a guy that looks like he could score whatever. Joel Embiid is drawing as many fouls right now as Shaquille O'Neal did in his absolute peak. And I think some of this is just because the league is a little BS right now, but
soft.
But Joel Embiid's one of those guys that if he stays healthy for the next 10, 12, 13 years and gets better, and continues to like improve in sort of that physical dominance, I too could see him becoming a Shaq-like force where he has this peak where it's like, okay, who can guard him? He just draws too many fouls. He shoots the three, whatever. Not predicting it, but he's at least a guy I have to throw on this list of. He, too, is only, 26, 27. So 27. So he could have 10 years ahead of him where he's the most dominant player in the NBA.
So Giannis, he's 26 years old, 2 MVPs already, 5 All-Star.
The shine is so off of him, though, man,
I
right
know,
now.
but
You're right. The resume building's there.
The resume building's there. And think about just where
Once he joins up with Jokic here in Denver, baby, the run happens.
Team, huh?
Yeah, think about where Giannis's counting stats are going to be 10 years from now. Like his points and rebounds.
Yeah.
It's going to be crazy how many stats he accumulates just, throughout his career. And look, I think Giannis, we talk about how these guys are going to age. I mean, Giannis's game, it's so built on athleticism, but I still feel like he's going to age really, really well.
Yeah.
Just how dominant he is.
And he's interesting, too, because, like, if you did put together a team that was, like, Giannis, Jokic, and Damian Lillard, I guess I could just say Jamal Murray, whatever. If you put that team together, like, who's the best player? To me, I still think it's Jokic, but he would. They would all have such unique roles in that environment that you could be like, well, who's the MVP of it? You could have one series where one guy won the other, which is cool.
You could show a kid a Giannis highlight reel though in 20 years, 30 years. And one of the first questions they might ask you is like, is that the best player of all time?
Yeah.
He's going to have that.
He looks like best player.
The other
of all
big
time.
that I think is in this equation is Anthony Davis. He's a little bit further into his career, but he just went with the Lakers. If he stayed with the Lakers for the next 10 years, they just keep recycling new superstars alongside him to carry his ass, but for people to be like, hey, is Anthony Davis... We already asked last year, the Athletic asked if he was the greatest big man to ever play the game. Like, we already did this thing once.
This is my nightmare.
This
He
is my
was
nightmare, too.
anointed the second best player in the league.
Yeah, he already, and then he just was terrible. But I don't think, like with Embiid, I don't think it's going to happen. But Anthony Davis at his best is the most versatile big in the league. Like he can do everything.
I think these are guys with skill sets, like talent arguments in a vacuum. But again, like it is going to be about resume building, narrative building, myth building, and that's why I think for any of these guys to catch LeBron alone, let alone MJ, is almost inconceivable. And I agree with your larger point that it shouldn't be. Time will pass, we'll see more studs. But in this moment in time, it's just such a high bar to clear.
Steph Curry, I think he's already probably a little bit over the hump or over the hill, or whatever. But and also it's so hard for a guy that it's hard for our minds to wrap around shooting being more important than everything.
He might have had a shot though.
Best peak, he's got a.
If Klay Thompson didn't get hurt, if they were able to stay as a contender over these last couple of years, and he was able to get 1 or 2 more.
Yeah. I mean, Steph is the ultimate. Like, Steph and Jokic, I think, is soon going to replace Steph as the guy that, like, creates the most polarizing takes. Because Steph, man, you go back and watch, as I did last night, watch some of the old Steph Curry highlights, like, from games, and you're just like, yes, that guy broke basketball. Nobody could guard him. And nobody could guard the entire team because of him. And so he had, at one point, a small opportunity. Let's get to Jokic, guys. The feast de resistance, as I say. If we look at Jokic here, for him to become the GOAT is obviously incredibly hard. We've often compared him to Larry Bird, and Larry Bird, is obviously in the GOAT conversation. There are people that think, mostly old schoolers.
Mostly Boston Celtics fans.
No, when I was growing up, man, there was a lot of people, I was in the 90s, and really at the end of the 90s, I'd always talk to my coaches and stuff in high school or whatever, and they'd always be like, it's not MJ, he's not the GOAT, it's Magic. And after Magic, it's Bird, and then it's MJ or whatever. And, like, people really held on to that for a while. And I suspect similar things will happen with LeBron or whatever, like, there'll be a new wave and whatever. But Jokic, I think, has a shot, above 0.0% shot at it. It would require if you win a bunch of championships in Denver, first of all, you have to become in the list there. If we're comparing it to all-time Lakers and Celtics.
Championship difficulty, can that be a new stat?
So Tim Duncan,
based on market.
So Tim Duncan is, I don't think I've ever heard him discussed as the GOAT, but he's like a definitive top 10 player. Like everybody has him as a top 10 player. Again, Jokic probably didn't get there, but what would it take for Jokic to be in the conversation for GOAT player of all time? Like he's already averaging 27. He's up 7 points. Is it 30 for like 5-6 years?
I think it's titles more than that. Yeah. Statistically, he's going to have a case for
titles are a given. They're
like a top 6, top 5 kind of profile for centers. Like he's going to be he's already on that track, to be honest. If he wins 2-3 titles in Denver, in a place like Denver, the outside world probably won't care, but there's at least a foundation for a narrative there of like, literally no one could even get this team to the finals.
Right.
Like, no one cares. No one wanted to play
off 4.
No one could build super teams in Denver, and Jokic led that organization to 3 or 4. There's a real argument there. I think maybe it's a little more realistic to set sights on best international player ever. Does he have a chance?
Sure,
yeah.
Especially if you talk like European, because if you're like Tim Duncan was born in Virgin Islands, like,
best European.
But let's pull on this thread. Because I think it's an interesting thought experiment. But Tim Duncan won 5. Jordan won 6. And Jordan won the finals MVPs every time. Duncan didn't necessarily, and I know that plays into the narrative. But I do wonder if Duncan would have won 6 or maybe 7 if he would have been in the same career. Let's just say same career, but they win. The Ray Allen shot doesn't go in. They win that one.
Right.
I think they lost one year to the Thunder, and it was a year where the Thunder just got like red hot against them, but they could have won, easily could have won that one. You talk about the Lakers. You remember the Shaq shot, the Derek Fisher shot? That was
right.
They should have won that game and maybe the series. So that's not inconceivable to think they had the exact same career. Ball bounces differently once or twice, and they actually have 7 championships. If Tim Duncan got 7 championships, do you think they would have considered him the GOAT?
No.
Would he have been in the conversation?
Maybe he would have been 3rd right now.
Okay.
Is this position bias, Wind? I mean, if he's a wing or a guard and he does the same thing.
Yeah,
right?
I think it's like sexiness bias, to be honest. Like Jordan, LeBron are just sexier than Tim Duncan.
Yeah.
And like,
so true.
Nothing Tim Duncan could have done about that, but it's just kind of how we think in these arguments, I think. And honestly, man, that ties back into the Jokic thing. Like, why did people think Joel Embiid was so much better than Nikola Jokic for these last couple of years? It's because he has a sexier game. He can jump higher. He can dunk harder. He has more of like that classic superstar game.
Dunking on a player or fouling them out or just playing scoring in a one-on-one setting feels more dominant than a player that every single possession picks you apart. I mean, there's something to like Jokic is a Peyton Manning type player. And I think Peyton Manning in football, maybe it shines a little bit more. But, if you have the like physical dominance or something where people are like, I don't know how you stop that, it's a little bit more loud and obvious. I think Jokic has better chance at GOAT status than you guys seem to. Obviously, it's not great. And the narratives will always be against him. But I'm telling you, 27 points this year on the ascent. Getting better as the season goes on. I'm just telling you, there's a world in which he is. Part of what was wrong with Tim Duncan was he never felt like that type of dominant offensively, where like he could just do that. Jokic might get to a point. Jokic goes to a finals, plays the number 1 defense, and just drops 120 on him every single game, and it's like, the best defense had no chance. I mean, there's a path.
Well,
there.
I mean, there is a thing that really only people who watch this team 82 games a season know, and it's that. Like what comprises Jokic's greatness is so unique, but if you really wanted to strip it all the way down, could he be that scorer? Could he be that dominant in that setting? Hard yes.
Yeah, we're seeing this year he can be.
It's a decision from him, right?
All right, let's take our first break. I just love that question, so we spent a lot of time on it, but we got a bunch more questions to get through on the other side. Take it away, Wind.
Yeah, guys, make sure to pick up some Mile High City Copper Lagers this week. They're great to drink during the game, and Nuggets are back Friday, so pick some up. You know the can. It's that Skyline Blue Nuggets can. You can pick them up from Breck Brew. You can pick them up from your local liquor store. It's the Mile High City Copper Lager. Make sure to grab some of those this week. Also, if you are looking to go back to school, get your college degree, maybe you're just graduating high school, check out MSU Denver online. It's an awesome and affordable online institution based right here in Denver. They've got awesome teachers who know how to teach online. You can check out their entire course list at msudenver.edu/online. Tons of different classes, all online. And like I said, the teachers are great. They can work with you if you work a second job or a job outside of just going to the classroom. So check them out today. View their entire course list at msudenver.edu/online. All right.
That was 2? You
Yep.
got through 2? Wow, good job, man. I just tried to read the comments. I couldn't even get through to see what people were saying.
Yeah,
Most
same.
people very upset if you mention anybody's name besides Jokic in the GOAT conversation. So there you go. All right, let's get into some of these other questions here. Does Jokic want fans back? Has having no fans actually helped him? I mean, this is a question we might ask once fans start to return to the arena, but I have wondered this, guys. Jokic averaging 27, shooting 40% from 3. He's not the only one. The NBA got scoring's up, players' efficiency's up. I do wonder how much it dips when fans come back.
I was watching the All-Star game and Steph Curry just raining in threes from half court. And I was wondering, like, what would Steph Curry have been like in the bubble?
Oh,
Dude,
my
I think
God.
about that
Would he
you're
have
right.
at the
shot
time.
65%
Oh,
from three?
man, he might have.
Yeah.
Maybe?
I think so, dude.
Like,
I really
Steph
do.
is insane, man. It's weird. I totally stand Steph. Like
Totally.
the discourse around him online is so dumb that
Yeah.
like whenever I'm all team Steph.
Yeah.
I'm learning something in the comments today, guys. You just can't wear red on this show. Or
What
else you're
happened?
the
Are you
I'm the
State
State
Farm?
Farm. I just got off my shift at Target.
Oh, that
This
is a
Target's
Target.
red. I don't
Oh,
know.
wow, you did look at
Associate
that.
Colors
Yeah.
Association.
Clean up over here.
Pink
All
is a very
for
good option.
I should have gone with pink. All right, sorry, what were you saying?
No, but like we know guys shoot better when there's no crowd.
Yeah.
Like that, I think that has been very established right now. The shooting in the bubble is off the charts. The shooting this year is already up, obviously up from where it's been in years past, playing in front of full arenas. It makes a difference. Now with Jokic, it's funny because when you've asked him about his shot and specifically his 3-point shot, he's always said, yeah, it's just all about how focused I am.
Yeah.
So I wonder if the fans make you less focused. I don't know. Like that's only a question
Right.
you can ask if you're playing the game.
That could theoretically go both directions, right? I
Yeah.
have more time to think in my head because
Right.
it's empty and quiet
Right.
in here or whatever. Yeah, I don't know, guys. I just think a flip has switched for Jokic in his understanding of his impact and role. There's probably a bump here, right, in terms of the every night scoring, how efficient it's been. But I think the difference really is just that he's realized, they can't guard me, and sometimes that's the beautiful game. That's how we win.
Yeah, you guys are also forgetting about the most important thing we haven't talked about it much lately. Jokic, man, I'm telling you, he turns into Djokovic. His crowd gets up against him. He's going to turn it up even more. Yeah. So, the homie. Oh, by the way, that question was from Northwest Nuggets fans, which I like that handle. It represents the Northwest. I think Northwest U.S. Northwest of the state. We don't know.
Yeah.
Compare. This one comes from the homie Miroslav. Compare Nugget starters to fast food joints. I only have a couple here.
This one's hard.
People don't know this. I eat Noodles and Company almost every day because it has a very good keto option.
We knew that.
Yeah.
You guys knew that. Out there, it has a great keto option. It's right next door to us, so I can wander
literally
over.
2 doors down.
That's
from
actually the
bar.
main reason. So that one is Jokic. It's the everyday, consistently great, consistently an A+ meal. Shouts to Noodles and to
Okay.
Jokic.
Okay. I thought of one for Michael Porter Jr.
Okay,
I've got Sonic for Michael Porter Jr.
sounds like not a great thing, but okay, let's find out what you mean.
I feel like Sonic, like 5 years ago, 7 years ago, it was maybe going to be like the next big fast food thing. It was super hyped up.
I don't think there was a single person on earth that thought this, but okay.
I felt
it's
like
just
this.
Harrison sitting at
Like
home
the
as a young
ultimate
lad.
drink stop. It was
an ultimate drink
this new
stop.
wave
Ultimate
of
drink
fast
stop.
food, kind
Yeah.
of. And MPJ, kind of the new wave. I don't know.
That's a
Wow.
reach, real reach here.
All right, I want to go back to Jokic and just say there's a slam dunk here, and it's Taco Bell, and I know the joke's played out, but he's the quesarito boy. He's got to be
Yeah.
Taco.
Oh, you're right. That is a good one there. I have one here. I thought Millsap is Chipotle. I have Jermichael Green's Qdoba. They're pretty similar, man. Like,
Dude, that's so good. That's so good.
and then here's the last one, Zeke Naji, Illegal Pete's. Even more different.
Yeah.
Even more
Just
different.
the hippie version.
But it is the hippie version. He's the hippie version of Paul Millsap. True. He's Paul Millsap with a cool haircut.
Marcus Howard, Del Taco.
Is Vlatko just Arby's?
So I put him as Hardy's.
Oh, okay.
He's hardy. He's a hardy.
Arby's, I
fella.
think, could also qualify.
Yeah, those both work.
That's all I got, guys. Weird question, but also a good one. Let's go to some big picture questions here. When do you think Gary and Millsap will be back and fully healthy? This one comes from Jordan. I think Michael. I'm not sure. Harrison.
I'm not sure, to be honest. I feel like Paul probably could have played these last couple of games if like this was a playoff series. Gary, if I'm the Nuggets, I take it really easy with Gary.
Yeah.
Like, he missed 7 games and then came back and then for some reason played 30 minutes against the Wizards. Like, I would think you would have wanted him on a minute restriction, it being Gary Harris in that first game back. He's now missed 8 more plus the All-Star break with that same injury.
Wow.
So around the same time, a little more now with the break here over the last several days, but I think Paul is going to be good to go. I don't know about Gary.
Conspiracy corner here. Trade deadline's in 2 weeks.
I think you can even read into what Wynn's thinking here just by listening to the team talk about the two players. The Gary thing sounds somewhat serious for sure.
Well,
What's your conspiracy?
Well, my conspiracy is maybe you hold him out till after the trade deadline. Maybe it's hey, we don't want to trade a player with an injury. We instead it's hey, he could come back. We're taking an abundance of caution, as they like to say. And so if there is a trade, you have a healthy, ready-to-go player, as opposed if you bring him back, still feeling a little tricky.
See, whenever you say trade, I just think about a potential Gary Harris trade.
That's what I'm saying, a Gary Harris trade.
Right, but nobody's going to trade for him if he's not playing.
Right, he was just playing his value back up, and then
you
he
got to
goes back on the
showcase him
bench.
a little bit
I
if
think
he's going to
so.
get dealt,
I think so.
Yeah, so maybe then you think he comes back even earlier. I don't know if Gary Harris is going to be traded, but when you look at the guys that could be traded by Denver, he's high on the list. I think Barton 1,
Sure.
Gary Harris 2.
Sure,
so,
yeah.
you look at that. As far as Millsap, here's an interesting thing. Millsap wants to play. Part of me wonders what Denver looks like one more month without Millsap. If he didn't play for another month, does Zeke Naji gets more minutes? Does he work himself into hey, we feel great about him being on the court? Or does Michael Porter, now we get to play him more at power forward? That's what we wanted all along. So now it's great. Like, I wonder if that's a thing. And I also wonder if you're Paul Millsap, yes, you like the extended rest, but I wonder if you sit there, Denver, if Millsap's not back on Friday and Saturday and Monday, and Denver all of a sudden is at a 6, 7, 8 game win streak, if you're sitting there going like, I better get back or I'm never going to get back into this rotation. So something to kind of think about. After this one comes from RCJR. After starting with one of the hardest schedules in the league and fighting to the record we have, how do you think the second half, which is supposed to be one of the easiest remaining, will affect this final spot for this team? Do you think we can take advantage of it? So, easy schedule coming up. Go ahead, Vogt.
Well, I mean, listen, it's really hard to sit here and bet money on the Nuggets taking care against business in this regard. Easier strength of schedule, playing worse teams. Traditionally, with this group, they've struggled in that context.
Fully healthy, you're saying?
Oh, I was saying in a favorable stretch of schedule. They don't always take advantage of those games.
Right.
Now, a lot of contender-ish teams don't win as many of those games as we all think. But I think the real source of hope is you look at it and you say, the big three is working. And that's a recent development. That's why they're winning. And so that's if they're going to win down the stretch, that's probably why. And you think you feel good about that.
So let's just go through their upcoming schedule here because RC has a point here. At Memphis on Friday. I think this is one of their tougher games. At Memphis on Friday. Are they favored or underdogs? Or do they?
I don't even know if the line's out for Friday.
I'm not asking literally. I'm asking the Harrison Win. I'm not asking the DraftKings line here. I'm asking the Harrison Win line.
Yeah, they'll probably be favored.
You come home and play Dallas on the second night of a back-to-back at home in Denver.
I think they'll be favored.
Favorites.
Indiana Pacers.
Favored.
Charlotte Hornets.
Big favorites.
Chicago Bulls.
Favorites.
New Orleans Pelicans.
Favorites.
Then you go on the road at Orlando.
Favorites.
Then you have the second night of a back-to-back at Tampa Bay for the Raptors.
This could be a pick 'em.
Yeah.
So think about that. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games in a row the Nuggets should be favored coming out of the break, and they're already on a 4-game win streak. So it really is a great opportunity. And if you keep going after that, New Orleans again, then you get Atlanta, you get Philadelphia at home. there's you get a one game at the Clippers, which will be underdogs, but then you come back home. You have Orlando, Detroit, San Antonio back to back at home.
So this is a cake schedule, except for the first week of May when they play the Nets, the Lakers, the Clippers, the Jazz.
The better way to look at it for me would be that it's not a cake schedule, because obviously some like San Antonio is a tough team, but it's at home. Games of the home versus San Antonio or less all the way from till April 9th, with the exception of one Clippers game and, of course, that Philadelphia game, which will be a tough one too. But I don't know, man. That's a lot of wins Denver can rack up. And if you end up going 12-2 over your next 14 games, the whole season changes.
Yeah.
So
no, I think it's huge that the schedule has sorted out this way, because if Denver keeps this momentum that they built pre-All-Star break going, I mean, this is the time to rack up wins. You got the big three in rhythm.
Here's the thing, though, Harrison, because I'm with you. These are games they should win. But how much of this is, well, let's try. Everybody's back healthy.
Yes,
let's
exactly.
experiment with this, and it ends up costing you a game against Memphis,
Yeah, you can say that, but the top end talent on this team is so good that you can experiment and still easily win games. I mean, it's just that good.
Yeah, it's ultimately still a good thing to get half your rotation back. I mean, some questions to figure out, but you want the quality players.
Here's a question for the comment section. Let me know, the YouTube live chat, let me know what Denver's record is in the month of March. You can include the 3 games they've already played, which are all wins. They're currently 3-0 in March. But if you go all the way through that Philadelphia home game, which is the last one, let me know what you think Denver goes over the month, because I mean, there's a legitimate chance they go undefeated because of the schedule, but
that won't happen.
Like par might honestly be 10-2 or something, so it's kind of wild. All right, Nikola Jokic's actually it's just Nikola's burner has a good one here. What do you think? What are the individual sacrifices that truly need to be made by the big three, Jokic, Jamal, and Mike, in order for them to all reach their full potential? I love this question. So Michael Porter's are obvious. He is just not a first option. It's just the sacrifice he has to make right now. There may be a time when he is the first option. Actually, I take that back. I don't think he'll ever be the first option. Jokic will always be the fulcrum.
Right.
Michael Porter, I could see replacing or playing alongside Jamal Murray. I don't think it would happen this year or next year, but maybe 3 years from now, it's less of the Murray-Jokic two-man game and more of a, hey, Michael Porter-Jokic two-man game now is just as good, so we go to that just as much as we do. I don't know. So first and foremost, for Michael Porter, it's touches.
Yeah, I agree. With Jamal's got to sacrifice for the betterment of Michael Porter Jr., I think.
Yeah.
And I think we've already seen some of this from Jamal, to be quite honest. I know he's scored 20-plus points in 12 straight games. He probably could have had some 30-point games. I mean, he's had some. He probably could have had more.
Yeah.
Probably could have had more 35-point games if he really wanted to. But I really buy into the fact that he's trying to be a leader, be a pure point guard, get others involved, get Yoke going, get Mike going, get everybody else going. So I think there's got to be some sacrifice there too.
And from Yoke, I think it's going to be about breaking away from the beautiful game. There are going to be nights where it's about feeding Jamal, where there are going to be nights where it's about scoring 40, which Jokic is the only player in the league for which doing so might be a sacrifice. He'd rather not. And more importantly, a little bit of patience with MPJ. So there are going to be games where what it means to feed that hot hand is not the same thing as playing the beautiful Faceless Army game. And there are going to be some nights where rather than making that a teaching moment, it's something Jokic has to roll with to get the win.
So I like what you said there with Yoke. Patience might be the biggest sacrifice for him because, look, man, I really do think the first 2 months of the season, maybe 3, I would have to go back and look, but a majority of the season, Jokic was just so frustrated with Michael Porter. I mean, you could see it, man. And I think still, I don't know that he fully is bought in or trust or whatever, but I think that's actually Jokic's sacrifice. He wasn't handed the most high IQ, ready-to-made veteran star who's ready to go and do all the things. And I'm sure Jokic would have loved to have had that. So there's a lot of that. For Murray, I think his sacrifice, and he's already sacrificed this, I think, quite a bit. It's clout. And this is one of the things I'm most impressed with Jamal Murray. We do this a lot too. We're guilty of this. Jokic is our beloved child. He was here first. We've connected with him, this or that. And Murray, Murray was the best player in the Utah Jazz series. And it's still like, even after all of that, it's still like so much Jokic's team and thought of it in terms of this or that.
Yeah.
So I think with Murray, it's just clout. It's just he probably could get a little bit more recognition on a worser team if he was the guy. The way
Totally.
Donovan Mitchell and Jamal Murray went head to head. This year, Donovan Mitchell's MVP candidate. Murray, not even an all-star.
Well, we were just talking about this on the pod a couple days ago with John Morant.
Yeah,
You
right.
know?
Yeah, exactly.
John Morant, he's been that guy in Memphis, and now people are like ranking him ahead of Jamal Murray.
Yep,
like
totally.
you can't tell me
It's
if
clout.
Jamal Murray
Yep.
had his own team for these last 4 years, he wouldn't be a bona fide superstar.
Lighting up some of the lesser teams.
Yeah,
Every now and then going for
totally.
45, 50.
Totally.
Yep.
It's something Jamal clearly came to terms with.
He might
as
have
being
led the
this
league
player
in
and-
scoring by now, for all I know.
So it's funny because the Nuggets model really is the Spurs model, where Tim Duncan was the cornerstone. He was the best player. There's no questions about it. But like Tony Parker was better than most of the dudes that were significantly more famous than him for
Manu
a lot of
Ginobili?
years.
Yeah.
Manu Ginobili, same
Right.
thing. Significantly better player than a lot of the dudes that got mentioned ahead of him. But that was the sacrifice they made. Their reward was 5 championships and 10 trips to the Western Conference Finals or whatever it was. So Murray, I don't think we appreciate enough how much he sacrifices
with
in
that,
that
yeah.
regard. How do you guys see the role of a Barton or any three in the starting lineup around Jokic, Murray, and MPJ? Who do you think best fits this role on the roster, or is a move necessary? This one comes from Brendan Diaz.
Move might be necessary. I think as constructed, Barton makes the most sense because it just works offensively. Like not just points scored, but flow. Having that many ball handlers out there, not having to make decisions like they used to do with Torrey Craig, Jokic. Like, oh, I can't go that way, right? I'm gonna turn around and swing the other direction.
Mm-hmm.
There is a flow to that offense. Barton admittedly hijacks that at times. Hasn't always been pretty. Defensively, though, that's not great, especially if you're looking to play Jamal off ball alongside another one. We don't know if they'll do that in the playoffs or not. So I think a move is necessary. But with the roster as constructed, they're winning these games right now with Barton at the 3.
Yeah. What I would like to see more from Barton, and I think he's capable of this because he's done it before, and Vogt just hit on it. Jamal's had so much success playing alongside another point guard. Barton can be that playmaker. He can be that type of guy. He's played backup point guard before. If he was to shift into that role a little more, alongside Murray, alongside that starting lineup, I think it could lead to a ton of success. That group is going to be really, really good offensively, like no matter what. But Barton in that role, I think, would be good. And also, if he can just kind of just lock down on defense.
See, that's the thing.
Yeah.
To me, that's not offense. There is an offense thing. Like if Gary is the 2, I do think you need somebody else that can handle the ball. But more than anything, you just need defense. Michael Porter at the 4, Jokic at the 5. It can work, but you got to have great perimeter containment. And to me, that's a defensive player. PJ Dozier, I'm very intrigued by. Zeke Naji, I'm intrigued by even in that role because I think Zeke Naji keeps guys in front of him, which is, guys might shoot over him or shake him or this or that, but they just don't get around him as easily. So
that's actually the lineup that I want to see the most
Zeke?
over the second half of the season. No, it's Dozier at the 3. That lineup has played 0 minutes together this season.
Yeah, of course.
Murray, Harris, Dozier, Porter, Jokic. 0 minutes together. That's the lineup I want to see the most over the second half.
Dozier has to be so low usage in that lineup.
That's
though,
the
I'm
thing.
so worried
That's
about
That's
it.
the thing. Yep.
Another question from Diaz. Diaz, is it Diaz? Do you guys recognize this obscure reference?
No.
Diaz, what do you think? All right. Well, see if
Flying
anybody in the
right over my head.
see if
Swing and
anybody
miss.
catches it. So it's an A+ reference. A+ reference. Also interested to know what you think the effects of the extremely condensed second half of the season will have on teams, because there's a lot of games in the second half.
I think
somebody told me this last night. The playoffs start in 70 days. I think it's 69
Oh,
days
God.
now. Isn't that wild?
I think if
What has changed in my life since the last time we all got together? Not one thing.
I think if a team pulls off a big trade, and maybe this is the reason why there's not just blockbuster deals at this deadline. If a team pulls off a big trade and you're bringing in, say, 3 new guys to your rotation, there's going to be no practice time. Like, you can probably count on one hand how many practices a lot of teams are going to have before the playoffs start.
Yep.
After the deadline, especially, which is still in a couple more weeks, you're just going to have very little time behind the scenes to implement new pieces.
It's a good point, dude. It's a really good point.
Very little practice time.
And that's why I don't think you're looking at a big move, by the way. This might just be like more of a floor raiser than a ceiling raiser, right? Like, I've said the name before, but like just as an archetype, like a Torian Prince or something. But I think Wynn makes a really good point that working that person up to speed, in this team, on a Jokic team, it's a short runway this year.
Yeah.
Nobody has guessed it in the chat. It's really bums me out.
No one cares about that. Reference.
No, nobody does. Why don't we hit our break? And then on the other side, we're going to have to rapid fire through as many of these questions as we have. We still have like 30 to get through.
Yeah, guys, make sure to check out this new offer from Strava Craft Coffee. I know a lot of you listening, watching have ordered Strava before. You guys can get 25% off your order of Strava Craft Coffee using the code DNVR25. It's a different code. DNVR25 gets you 25% off Strava Craft Coffee.
Let's go, dude.
Packed with CBD. You can get it at the bar. I think we still have it at the bar in cold brew, which is also really good. But you can get it from StravaCraftCoffee.com for 25% off with the code DNVR20. I also got to talk about DraftKings here. I know we got the tournament coming up. It's going to be a big couple weeks for betting. Conference tournaments are tipping off now. Bubble teams are making their final push for a bid, while the top seeds are preparing for what they hope is a long run. DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is putting new customers in the center of the action. This is an awesome offer for DraftKings, guys, if you're not signed up. Bet $4. Bet $4 on an underdog. Win $256 if that underdog wins. It's that simple. Bet $4 on an underdog in select college basketball games, and if they win, you collect $256
Wild.
from DraftKings. Make sure to download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code DNVR. Remember, you've got to use that code DNVR when you sign up to turn $4 into $256 if the underdog of your choosing pulls off the upset. That's code DNVR, turn $4 into $256. For a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook, must be 21 or older, Colorado only. New customers only, restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700.
It was Blue Streak. You guys have never seen Blue
I
Streak?
don't even know. That's
What
not
is
ringing
Blue
a
Streak?
single
You've never
bell.
seen Blue Streak?
No.
This is the
It's
kids
evoking
these days,
nothing in
man.
me,
Luke
yeah.
Wilson and
I like Luke Wilson.
The kids these
Martin.
days.
What's his guy? I can't think of his name.
Martin?
Scran. Who's it in Martin? What's the name of the comedian? Somebody help me out here. I'm drowning.
Martin Short.
No,
No.
the TV show
Oh,
Martin.
is it? Isn't that Cedric?
No, we're drowning here. I'll have to Google
this
it.
is not our.
Anyway, it's a
corner.
great movie. It's hilarious.
Oh, no, I
I've
was
watched it
close.
like every week of my life from like 6th grade to 8th grade. All right, let's move it on. What is Murray's ceiling as a defender? This comes from Connor.
Ceiling?
No, Martin. It's Martin
Um,
Lawrence. That's right.
Martin Lawrence. Yeah, I don't know why I couldn't think.
Comments are furious. Eric might be the maddest
This
one.
might
right now.
cancel us.
Yeah, we
actually.
deserve that one.
So I did see that Murray is no longer a top 5 defender.
Yeah, dude, he got ratioed right off the best defender.
He's
in
off
league
the
list.
NBA.com defensive ladder. No longer
That's
on
hilarious, man.
that. What's his ceiling? No, I think he can be an above average defender. I don't know if he's ever going to be an elite defender at his position, but he can definitely be above average. No, I think he's got a fine frame. And we've seen with Jamal, like, if he focuses and if he puts an emphasis on defense, he can lock in absolutely on that end of the floor. But I don't think he's ever going to be elite. Above average, though.
Sorry, someone said this is worse than when Adam called Lil Boozy a beverage. What's the question? Jamal ceiling?
Yeah, I think he could be really good defensively, though.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I would say a better than above average. I think
Okay.
I think he can end up being a very good defender. Not a stopper.
I was trying
not
to think of a
lockdown
player
but I
comp.
think. But like, if you told me, could Denver? Here's one of the questions I always think: can Denver build a top 5 defense around Murray, Porter, and Jokic? And I think the answer is yes. You would need like Gary Harris and OG Anunoby, so you'd need the 2 guys that are your stoppers, one inside, one outside. But I think that, and Michael Porter, we're still TBD if he can like become lower and lower mistakes. But like Jokic positionally can always be in the right spot, and he's very good at certain types of defense, post defense, rebounding, this or that. And I think Murray can be the same thing, where it's like nobody's seeking him out to exploit him.
Sure.
But he's also not the guy that you would hopefully have on your best perimeter player.
Yeah.
Yeah, he and Yoke remind me a lot of each other on that end, in that I think it can be opportunistic. 5-10 minutes at a time, it can be very, very good. But like most superstars that have ever lived, they're a little too busy carrying the offense to play lockdown defense for 4 quarters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another question coming in here from Josh Barnett. Are the Nuggets a legitimate free agent destination now? Surely playing with Jokic is a huge sell to stars. How many is it every 2 months we get this one?
Yeah.
I mean,
wish
you
it
would
changed.
certainly think, Josh, you would think it'd be very advantageous to want to play with Jokic. But, I mean, they're not. They're just not. And honestly, I don't know if they'll ever be the premier free agent destination.
Yeah, nobody was flocking to San Antonio to play with selfless Tim Duncan.
They probably will never be. And, that's okay. But, no, they're not.
Yeah.
I mean, even the Clippers built a beautiful situation, and stars were just like the Lakers. Though.
Let me throw one huge caveat in here, though. Can I throw a huge caveat?
Sure.
Denver is a European city, meaning people that have grown up in Europe tend to like Denver. It reminds them of home. There's nature. There's less hustle and bustle than your coastal cities. It's easier to hide. Like if you're in New York and LA, like whatever. So I do think that there's maybe European players that would be like, hey, you know what? Denver seems pretty dope.
Yeah, I'm all for that. If we can become the European hub, let's do it.
Any branded hub, any hub other
if
than
you're,
Paul Millsap.
If
came
you're
here.
looking to get away from the spotlight rather than towards it, and most NBA players are looking to get towards it, but it does seem like there are a lot of players, especially some of the foreign-born ones, that are just like, dude, American media is insane. Like, I don't want to be in front of a camera 24/7. So
I do hope Jokic knows that's the best thing he's got going for him, dude.
I think he does.
Yeah.
Zeke Naji, where does he rank on the team's list of wing defenders? This comes from Jake Vanderbrink. How far is he from being a legit rotation piece or even a starter?
So he is probably, and I'm not going to factor in Greg Whittington to this discussion because
sure?
we just don't know.
Yeah.
Sure?
Yeah.
I'm going to say Zeke Naji's the third best perimeter defender on
Behind?
this team. Gary Harris and PJ Dozier.
Third best. Wow. I can't put him that high. He does look like he has a lot of potential there.
Well, I mean, the other guys under consideration
If we're comparing him to guards,
are
like,
Will Barton, Jamal Murray, Monte Morris, Facu. who
come on, Facu. Yeah, you just
Wing
pissed off
defenders.
all of
I mean,
Argentina
Facu's
here.
not a wing defender.
This is why I don't think you can compare him really. Like if you just compare him to like threes and below. So
Wing
even if we
defenders.
include like Barton or whatever, I mean, he really does look. The thing that's so fun about Zeke Naji, I made the joke earlier about illegal Pete's, but he really does seem like a mix, like an evolution of Paul Millsap.
Mm-hmm.
Like the new version of Paul Millsap is a guy that can guard the perimeter a little bit more. Millsap used to be a great post-up player. You don't need that anymore. Naji's not. He can shoot and guard the perimeter.
Right.
Yeah, third or fourth sounds right to me. I don't think he's in a healthy rotation, though. And
I don't either, sadly.
Which is really too bad. Honestly, I'm kind of pissed about it.
there's no knock on him. I mean, he approached that opportunity the way he should. And I think you can feel...
He'll have another opportunity.
Yeah, you'll feel better about Zeke Naji going forward. But it was never plan A to play this kid when they drafted him, ever. And right now, guys are just hurt.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Zeke Naji. I don't think he's going to be a playoff rotation piece, a starter, or anything like that this year. But I do think I would love it if the Nuggets had a very good idea going into the offseason whether they could trust him next year to be a major piece, whether that's a starter or just a guy that they can count on for 20 minutes a game. I think they need to know that by the end of this year, so I hope we get an opportunity for it. What is your opinion on how Malone manages games? I feel like he subs out a group of guys that has the other team on the ropes way too frequently just because it's the usual rotation time. How do you rate his challenges? In my opinion, the ones he wins often are insignificant. Lucas Ramel here. That last line kills
man,
me.
All right, I'll
love
touch the
these
challenge
questions.
one. I can touch the challenge
Okay.
one. Not very good at the challenges. I think
Well,
that's
I
fair.
feel like he's been hot on challenges.
Well, he's
Am I
winning.
the only
He's
one?
winning challenges,
But they're insignificant according
Yeah,
to the question.
I don't know. Following the logic of like when and why he
Yeah.
challenges is a bit of a roller coaster. But
Yeah, that's true.
I'm sure he's not alone, by the way, in that dynamic.
Challenges also don't matter that much. When we talk about the rotation, he has done this before. Porter's had 14 points, and it's like, well, it's his time to come out, so we're pulling him out or whatever. I think you can get into trouble in the regular season if you ride the hot hand too much. It throws everything else out of whack. I do think there's something to guys knowing, like, here's where your minutes are coming, and you just go with it. So I don't mind the way he manages the rotation in that regard. My thoughts are more, and look, as time goes on, Malone always looks better, not worse. My problems are more with who doesn't play and the amount of minutes. And you get to the end of the season, it's like we've never played Jeremy Grant at small forward. Maybe that's a good thing. And then all of a sudden you play it in the playoffs and it works. Mine are more the macros with him than game by game.
Also, like, getting up in arms about little in-game things and substitutions and whatnot, it's like, we're not NBA coaches, man. Like,
Yeah. No, it's so true.
It's not
it's
that
like,
he's
what
above
are we
reproach,
doing here?
but, yeah.
Any person who watches a team super closely, game in, game out, is going to have bones to pick up with
Sure.
their coach. Like, the Warriors had bones to pick with how Steve Kerr coached the
Dude,
Warriors.
people,
man.
Stevens and Kerr right now,
Yeah.
like fan bases want them fired.
Yeah, it's
And
like
you're
ridiculous.
wow, it's crazy. So
Michael Malone's a good coach. He's a very good coach.
Yeah.
I think we can just leave it at that.
can the Nuggets go deep into the playoffs if they just go full send into offense and not make any defense focused moves, or do you think they need to sacrifice some offense for defense?
Full
This comes
send.
from Tate.
I love it.
Well, you know me. I'm all offense. No, you have to have a good defense. I do think that Denver, their roster is not complete right now, in my opinion, to do what I think is perfect for them, which is that Murray, Jokic, MPJ, that's your offense. You got to play these guys. You're going to have something great. And then you put a lot of responsibility on them, one or two guys.
Go ahead.
The series that I wonder if you just go all offense is against the Lakers.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you're going to stop Anthony Davis. The Nuggets don't really have a matchup for him. Nobody in the league has a matchup for him.
The Lakers don't score that well in the half court, though. I'm
Yeah,
telling you,
this is the thing. Yeah.
I feel like you just focus on the transition defense, and then,
And then you
let's go
outscore
out
'em.
there. Yeah,
Yeah,
just make
outscore 'em.
If you don't turn the ball over against the Lakers, and we saw this in this Nuggets-Lakers matchup that just happened. I know Anthony Davis got hurt, but if you take care of the ball and don't let the Lakers get out in transition, you can handle them in the half court. And I think maybe that's the formula against the Lakers. You just outscore them, take care of the ball. Maybe that's it.
You do, I think, generally speaking, though, have to start thinking about defense, not just for this postseason, but going forward. I'm not worried about this team in the regular season. Like, knock on wood, with the outside of Jokic getting hurt, I really think we saw what's close to the floor, if not the absolute floor.
Yeah.
I mean, half the rotation went out, and they were losing games in dumb ways. This offense,
and the vibes were so off.
we're so off. Like, to Adam's point, those three alone, the offense is always going to be good enough to win regular season games. They have roster construction slash matchup issues right now, and those will rear their heads in the playoff.
All right, let's get into the trade portion here. Lots of trades to be discussed here. Who is technically tradable before the deadline, considering the rules on contracts and current injuries? This comes from Flo. This one's simple. There's an answer. It's Paul Millsap has a no-trade clause, an effective no-trade clause, because he signed a one-year deal. Monte Morris, I think, the only other one who can't be traded. Everybody else eligible on the table.
Is it that they literally cannot trade them? Could these guys agree to be traded?
Paul Millsap could agree to a
Yeah,
trade.
Paul Millsap, yeah.
Paul
Okay.
Millsap could agree to a
Monte
trade.
can't be traded.
Monte can't be traded. But Millsap's not going to agree to a trade, man. He's got kids in school. It's a pandemic. He's signed
you
here.
don't think he's going to want to go to Sacramento for the second half of the season? Sure,
Can you
guys.
imagine?
Sounds
Every
great.
trade that you could send him to is also just crowd. There's no hey, what an upgrade. It's
Tim's also the
Sacramento.
last president who would do that to,
Yeah.
to Paul. He really
right.
wouldn't.
Yeah, for sure. Getting into some of these ones, I've heard a lot of talk about adding a forward, but what about a backup center? I really feel like Denver is hurting from not having Plumlee this season. Seems like a big reason why we lose leads when backups go in. This comes from Christian Cora.
Yeah. See, I think a big question here is, can Paul Millsap or JaMychal Green be your backup five?
Yep.
Because if they can be, that's the easiest route to go. If they can't, I think you can definitely look for a backup five, because Isaiah Hartenstein, I like certain parts about his game, but I wouldn't trust him in the playoffs right now.
He didn't take advantage of his opportunity, and it wasn't a great opportunity.
It was an
But
opportunity, though.
but it was an opportunity, and I just don't feel like he really made the most of it.
So I think a backup center could be a route to go. I like Nerlens Noel.
Yeah.
That's my guy.
I do think, though, that
Not a cultural fit.
that role.
I mean, you got him for half of a season, less.
Yeah. Jordan McRae 2.0.
that role does get a little reduced in the playoffs. I do think, I think first option would be what Wynn said, figuring out, can Green or Millsap be that guy?
Yeah, I agree. I honestly think that's the answer, especially when you look at, I don't want Dozier out of the rotation. I want him in. And
He's going to be
one of the most important ways to have him in is to move everybody down a spot and then have two bigs, a 4 and a 5. So I want to see if that ends up happening. I also do think one of my favorite themes of this season is missing all of the ones you took for granted. Torrey Craig's not here, and everybody's like,
Mason
oh,
Plumlee, man.
Mason Plumlee.
I
Everybody.
never took Torrey Craig for granted. I just want to put that out there. I never did.
I
Oh
don't-
my gosh,
Thank
this
you.
is a great work,
I
Harrison.
don't miss Torrey Craig that much.
But with Mason Plumlee, man, I mean, how many times are people like, he's the worst. He
We
can't
took
make
him
a
for
running.
granted,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Mason Plumlee. Now you're like, it's actually
Absolutely.
nice to not have to worry about.
To be fair, though, all Isaiah Hartenstein has to do is contest one Anthony Davis jumper, and he's
so
won our
true.
hearts.
It's
Mason
so
Plumlee,
true.
triple-double machine.
Triple double
Who would've
machine,
thought?
man. That's true. Thoughts on a potential Kyle Lowry trade, Omar? First of all, very lazy question, Omar. Very lazy. Thoughts?
Thoughts?
Man, it's interesting because, yes, we've been talking a lot about, yes, Jamal Murray plays really good next to another point guard. Like, that's different next to a Monte Morris or fucking Pazzo than it's next to a Kyle Lowry, who's
Sure.
like an all-star point guard. That'd be a massive move. Like, that'd be a massive move for Denver. I think Kyle Lowry is going to dictate if he gets traded and where he gets traded to.
Yeah.
I can't imagine him really wanting to come to Denver.
Why?
I mean, there's been a lot of buzz about him wanting to go to Philly, and maybe it's just like, if I can't go to Philly, just keep me in Tampa Bay for the year.
Kyle Lowry's a pretty perfect fit
Yeah.
in Denver. The problem I have is that Denver has 6 guards. Unless you're giving away 2 of those guards, I mean, some of them aren't going to play. Unless you're giving away 2 of those guards, then I don't see quite what the point is. But
Would you hate? Well, we just talked about Monte. You can't trade Monte.
Yeah, that's the thing. The only
That's
guys
who you
you
would
can
put, yeah.
trade, and you honestly, I don't think Denver's going to trade Facu. I mean, like, he just came over here, moved his family over here. You're going to deal him after half a season?
send him to Tampa Bay
Yeah.
of all places.
I don't think Denver's going to do that. So the guys you can trade are like 2s and 3s,
Yeah.
and you're going to have even more point guards.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe Kyle Lowry would make this team better if your starting lineup was Kyle Lowry and Murray in the backcourt. Like, I'd be like, oh man, that's all right. There's nobody that has a better backcourt in the playoffs. I don't think you're maybe as good, but not better.
Yeah, Lowry in that lineup works. Getting Lowry to Denver, not so much.
Yeah, Lowry is also, he's kind of a little Chauncey Billups light.
Oh, I like
You
this.
know, we always talked about when thinking back to that 09 run, that team changed when Chauncey got there. Kyle Lowry would have a similar effect, I think.
Could he have that same effect because he's a free agent? Could he have that in 2 months?
Be tougher.
In fact, it's a very condensed 2 months too. Like, we're talking about, like, yeah.
Yeah.
Who should be preferable trade target given MPJ continues playing power forward, true point guard or 3-and-D? We've kind of answered this one a little bit. Namani asked this one. Obviously a 3 is who you want to go after. Then I got a lot of questions in here about Larry Nance Jr. and Aaron Gordon. Larry Nance Jr., I don't think he's on the table.
I don't know why Cleveland would want to trade him.
He's a really good player. He's young.
He
He's
fits
also
in their
there.
core.
Isn't he a 4?
Yeah, I mean, he's
Yeah.
a Zeke Naji-esque
Yeah.
4, I would
He's
say,
like,
maybe.
but he's a 4 that could fit with MPJ well.
Sure. Okay.
You know.
He combo
on
could be a
both
combo forward, I guess. He's a really good player. I think he might have a little inflated value at the moment. And then the other one, Aaron Gordon. Aaron Gordon's another funny one, man, because I do feel like he's more of a reclamation project than I think people realize.
Yeah.
But man, wouldn't you love to start that reclamation project with Jokic on deck? I mean, like, if there's
Oh,
a
of
guy that
course.
could get more out of Aaron Gordon.
Athleticism, like this, part of this is just the raw athleticism. If you
Sure.
can give Jokic, Michael Porter, and Aaron Gordon as his forwards, you are more athletic than almost every other team at those 2 positions. And
I think he's a good defender, too.
yeah, Aaron Gordon, he also, if people watch Aaron Gordon play, Dozier-esque in his shot attempts.
Nobody has watched Aaron Gordon play over the last 3 years.
You think? That's your take? That's your theory?
He's on the Magic.
Let's just say that he would have to really learn some shot selection. I think he would. It's funny,
Definitely.
man, that Barton is the scapegoat because Nuggets are going to trade Barton, and then there's going to be a new scapegoat. People don't understand that this is the nature of things. That there's always one guy that gets an unfair amount of the blame. Some of it warranted, but then it's like, well, let's just throw all complaints, all griefs at him.
Yeah, and I bet if you were to go through like who's a net positive and a net rating scapegoat, Barton's in the former half. Man.
Totally,
Yeah.
of course.
I just think Aaron Gordon's too good. He's too good to slide in as like the 5th option.
I mean, Jeremy Grant didn't want to do it.
Right.
So yeah, it's a good point.
Right.
Got one more here. Is Bol part of any trade package at the deadline based on his place on the depth chart, and how much has his value fallen since beginning of the season? This is asked by Nolan Rogers. I don't know that he had high value coming into the season, to be honest. That's part of it.
Yeah, I think he's fallen just in terms of what the Nuggets probably think of him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
know?
that's probably true.
Because, I mean, look, this is a guy who, I don't know if I ever fully bought that he was going to be like competing for backup minutes at the 3 and 4, but he is so far down the depth chart now that Vlatko Čančar is just clearly way above him in the pecking order. And, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if he's dealt.
What's wild is he was in the running. Like the first time they had to go deep to that bench.
Correct.
Bull, step right on up. We talked about guys embracing the opportunity and making the most of it. I think it's pretty clear how Denver feels about him. Probably less excited than they were 3-4 months ago. I think Adam's right, though. We in Denver, because we've seen some fun bubble games, forget the entire league passed on Bull more than once, and Denver traded nothing for that flyer. So,
exactly. Yeah. So his value was low to begin with. I will say Isaiah Hartenstein, Bol Bol are the two who did not get good opportunities. These were not good. They didn't get they weren't dealt a great hand.
Bol Bol's 2 games that he played where he was guarding Kevin Durant.
So true. But that being said, I just don't think either one of them made the most of that. And this is the tough thing about life, but it's certainly the tough thing about the NBA. Guys get opportunities sometimes unfairly. This guy gets a chance because he was drafted high, but he's clear. Like Moutier. I mean, how many chances did Moutier get to prove himself?
Too many.
It didn't work. And how many times has Hartenstein had to prove himself? Very few, right? Hartenstein's not worse than Moutier. Moutier was a real anchor.
But that team was trying to figure out if Moutier is any good. This team's trying to win a title.
But what I'm saying is, you have small opportunities, you have to take advantage of them, and Bol Bol so far doesn't seem like he has. Now he'll probably get another one if he's not traded. He'll probably get another one, and I hope he approaches that one with more focus and an understanding of it, because that's how things work, man. You get a little opportunity, then you get a little bit more of an opportunity, then you get a bigger opportunity, then you get the best opportunity, and you just have to make it. So that was fun, guys. We got to most of our questions, not all of them. We got to most of them. PJ Tucker, just quick yes or no. I got a question on that. Yes or no, PJ Tucker.
To what?
Would you trade for PJ Tucker?
You want to go
fix
to
the
a
team?
movie?
Sorry. Yeah, hang out with him? Yes. No, not yet.
Yes, PJ Tucker. Yes.
He makes the team better?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm lukewarm on it. I do think he makes the team better because Denver's lacking there, but I don't think he's the guy, though.
I don't think PJ Tucker is who a lot of people think he is right now. I think there's a big discrepancy between who he was 3 years ago and who he is.
PJ Tucker's earned his stripes, man. That dude has been in a lot of big games and played well in
and
a
he's
lot
played
of big
well
games.
in them. You know what? Maybe I'm in. Maybe you talked me into it, Win. All right,
easy.
guys. Thank you so much for riding with us, the mailbag. We're going to be back again tomorrow right here in the same lounge doing a brand new show, getting you ready for the end of this mini off season. We get back into the on season.
This couple day break, it was nice.
It was nice. This was a vacation that's one day too long, and now I'm I don't know if I want to go back to the buffet. I don't know if I want to, it's really beach weather again. I'm a little sunburned. Yeah. That's how I feel. But we're going to be back again tomorrow, then of course Friday with the pregame show. We'll see everybody then.